Order. Who gave the order? Did the election commission give you the order or the prime minister designate?
Witness it. They're eyewitnesses. They're officers of the law. Him right there. Him who's doing the Sergeant Schultz impression. I know nothing.
Please don't touch her.
Thank
you.
This is the same problem you have in this city every weekend when you allow people to chant for genocide and you arrest independent media and peaceful protesters.
Man alive. You see that? You see all the police lined up outside the Liberal bus, and you see behind them all the kind of yellow vest kind of guys. I mean, they have an army. That is literally an army of officers out there in front of the Liberal bus. I don't know. Did Rosemary Barton show you that on the news as they complain and are so scared about their own security? Let me tell you, CBC and the Liberal media, they are all well protected. It's the alternative side that are not. Just to recap, we on the 16th and the 17th, the French debate happened on the 16th, the English one on the 17th. I was most delighted and surprised to finally see alternative media they were justified in speaking at the podium. They lined up, they spoke as they should. Now, even when the questions started, I was like, oh, these are different questions. Oh, this is kind of interesting. This is kind of like off topic. And in the beginning, I was thinking this is kind of off topic and unusual, but that's what journalism is. And I think we can forget that. They've already done all the talking points. They've said everything they needed to say. They've had the debate. Now you can ask them more to expand more, or you can ask them some different questions. So take that opportunity and ask some different questions, because a journalist is supposed to be curious. And I see that curiosity dying. But anyway, Rosemary Barton and the CBC on both days, that Adrian Arsenault, who lied about all the jibber jabby stuff, right? And David Cochrane and Rosemary Barton are delusional. They are the proponents of misinformation, as is CTV, as is Global News, although I didn't watch any of their coverage. But let's have a look at Rosie.
There are, just so people understand, there are a series of police officers stationed behind us to make sure that we remain safe and that the media get out safely. They were not altercations between journalists inside the media room, and there was no altercation between journalists that happened on David's set. These were right-wing people that publish their own agenda and websites, who confronted journalists inside the media center, who confronted David on his set, who directly and personally confronted me inside the media center. These are people that the commission decided to accredit, and that is where we are now. The situation deteriorated quickly in terms of how those people were behaving inside a professional media center where you were supposed to be doing your job. And that has left us with no scrums and a strange security situation on a night where we should be focused on the things that you want to ask us about.
Oh, God. You know, it's left us with a strange security situation brought on by who? Because if you look at actually what happened during in the press conference room before the debate actually happened, it wasn't anyone from the alternative media that was causing a ruckus and muckraking and causing a scene. You know who was somebody from the Hill Times. But before I get to that, also when Rosemary says this media organization, it's even loath to say that they are a news organization. She's just like people that run these far right websites. Oh God, she actually just makes my blood boil. That Rosemary, that whole trio of three dum-dums sitting up there. But let's just clear up maybe some rumors of things that you've heard. I mean, I started to look up, well, how are these organizations recognized under the CRA? Juno News is likely registered with the CRA as a qualified Canadian journalism organization. This designation allows them to claim the Canadian Journalism Labor Tax Credit and have their subscription costs considered qualifying expenses for the digital news subscription tax credit. And you know who else falls under that? That is the Qualified Canadian Journalism Organization, the QC 30, if I could read the type. The Hill Times, Maclean's, Post Media, Kelowna Daily Courier, they all have that designation. So just one thing I want to say is that when you're a startup, where do you get your money from? You're not like, you have to start the business from ground up. So a lot of these people like Rebel News, Juno News, you have to get donations. You have to get people to donate to you. You have to fundraise, and you might have to label part of your business as a charitable organization because people are making donations. I mean, I'm not entirely clear on all that, but that kind of makes sense to me, right? Because when the CBC wants to send 3 camera guys and 5 reporters somewhere, they have all the money in the world to do it. They have your money. Global News, also same thing. They have their budget, you know, they have the budget. They can do it. Whenever we do elections, there's an election budget. There's money set aside. It's not like these reporters are scraping money together to fly themselves there. And same with CTV. It's all within the budget of the company. But if you're a startup and you got to raise money, like, and if I wanted to go cover the event myself or the debates, I would just have to pay for the ticket myself out of my own pocket, or I'd have to ask for donations. And I probably wouldn't get accreditation because I'm not an organization designated as QC, as a QC 3.0 or whatever this is, the Qualified Canadian Journalism Organization. I'm just little old me, right? I'm just my own sort of independent business. So, and just think about it, like when you're an upstart, you got the you got to get the cameras, the reporters, you've got to get everything in place to run news. So like, I tip my hat to Rebel News for starting that. I tip my hat to Juno News for starting that. I tip my hat to anybody that starts something like that, because that's not easy. It's not being handed to you like it's being handed to the CBC. Okay, that was Rosemary Barton's awful analysis of what happened. Let me just show you the Hill Times reporter going a little bit wiggy, like for a second there, I thought he'd been drinking or something, going a little bit wiggy in the press room beforehand. This guy, like, why is he so mad? He's like your little organization. You're from the Hill Times. Not that many people have heard of you either, Mr. Mustache. I think he grew that so he doesn't look like he's 12.
Why are you screaming, by the way?
Well, I want to make sure the guys filming it over there get the good audio.
Good.
Can you hear me okay? Am I enunciating properly?
That's sarcastic.
Do you have one set up? You got the levels ready for me? Because you're clearly not doing any actual journalism while you're here.
What are you doing? Googling?
Respectful discourse. It's right here in black and white.
Well, when you guys started gaming the rules and threatening to sue because you didn't get your way, I assumed the rules were out the window.
No, it's right here in black and white. We follow the rules.
Oh,
it's the federal.
Was that like when it was in black and white saying you should only have one reporter accredited so that everyone might have a chance to ask a question? But instead,
you know what? They were allowed to have up to 5 reporters accredited, and they're up to 11. I believe it was 5 or 11. They're allowed to send who they want to send, and they have not been allowed in the past to be in press conferences. They have to earn that right. They have to sue for that right. That right is just given to you. You complaining. Oh, I was going to swear.
You wanted to take, what was it, 2-minute long questions so that Poilievre only got asked 3 questions. He usually allows 4 because things move a little bit quicker at his press conferences.
I mean, one thing they could make their questions more concise. That would be my little criticism, but whatever. That's a very minor criticism. This guy is unhinged. This guy is what I call unhinged. And I don't see any alternative media acting like this.
You guys are so...
Some people did keep their questions quite concise. So I have to say that.
Verbose, I'll say. Most of us didn't get a question.
Oh, don't
and
cry
what
about
I really
it.
don't enjoy is that everyone else here was being respectful, following the rules.
Yeah, they were not being respectful. So this is the guy. This is the unhinged guy that started this big fight. And then after this, then some announcement was made that it's canceled. Everything is canceled. It's a security risk.
You know, it's one of the strangest days of my life, I got to tell you. Yesterday was so exciting. Rebel News had 4 out of 17 questions. I was the only Rebel who didn't get a question, but there were wonderful questions by Drea, Sheila, David, and Alexa en français, which I really liked. That was the same number of questions that was asked by CBC in their French and English divisions. And it was pretty cool that there's a room of over 100 journalists, but Rebel News had 4 questions. And there's no secret to why. We just got in the line and did it. But over the last 24 hours, so much of what I call the regime media, the mainstream media, the legacy media, absolutely freaked out on the Debates Commission. The chair of the Debates Commissioner, the commissioner, as it's called, Michel Cormier, for some reason, he did a media tour. He was on CBC. He was on.
Yes.
He did so many interviews.
Michel Cormier, the General Director of the Leaders Debates Commission. Mr. Cormier, hello. So how come there were 5 journalists there? I'm using quotation marks who represented this media last night.
But because we lost 2 cases in court in 2019 and 2021, because it's important to know that we had tried to prevent rebel news from participating in these press conferences.
Oh my God. That's so major. That is such a major thing. It is important to know we had tried to prevent rebel news. What are you threatened by in asking these questions? Who are you protecting? And as somebody, you're supposed to be impartial. Actually, and you can see there he is the complete opposite. People like this should not be in these positions because you are biased. Go away.
Because I agree with Chantal that they are not journalists as we understand it, but we lost those 2 cases. And for months, we've been communicating through our lawyers with Rebel and their lawyers to try to limit the number of journalists. So rather than risk another trial that we would surely lose, because with the previous 2, it would have been impossible to win this one. We did. We gave them 5 passes for the press conferences. There are still many journalists. The other media also have passes that can be exchanged. A journalist from an organization can ask a question, leave the line, hand his badge to a journalist, his colleague from the same organization. So the same thing happened in 2021, except it was more over the phone because of COVID. But at that time, the court had told us you must accredit 11 journalists from Rebel. So those are court orders. It's hard not to obey them. So that causes what we saw yesterday. We'll see today if there's a way to try to better manage traffic for tonight for the English debate.
What does that mean, better manage the traffic?
No, but to see if we can, I don't know. We will explore options with the producer then.
Okay, but the 5 there, what's it based on?
It's based on the fact that
you say last time we were forced to have 11. Now we allowed 5 journalists to attend based on what?
Well, based on if, for example, we had said we did the evaluation and thought that 5 was still half of 11, then that would probably work. Otherwise, we didn't want to end up in court with another judgment forcing us to accredit even more. Is that it?
Wow. Oh my God. Doesn't that just could totally show you their bias? And the radio host is like, what? Why do you have them there? Have you not watched a story by them? And you haven't watched Ezra go take down or go and interview Albert Bourla in Davos and other people that he's interviewed on the Greta. And not only do they do stuff like that, all their reports and all their packages, to me, have a lot of journalistic integrity. So for this Cormier guy to be saying that he's the head of the debate commission is absolutely disgusting bias. And another thing, he said in that clip, we have to consult with the producer. So the debate will always have a producer, and the debate commission can choose who they want. So it's generally going to be legacy media, right? So they could have chosen Global News to produce it, and then we would have had a team of a producer and a crew. I would have been, I've been part of crews on debates and election coverage and things like that. Or they could have chosen CTV or whatever, but they go with CBC. And I guess that makes sense because they're the state broadcaster. So the producer of the show is who they have to work with, right? CBC is very liberal funded, right? Obviously, they're in the pocket of the liberals, right? If Pierre gets in, they're going to be defunded, and they know that. So they're fighting like hell to keep those big paying jobs, right? So anything that might make Carney look bad is not going to be good for them. So they're going to crush that like you wouldn't believe. And CBC is the broadcaster. So basically, CBC Broadcasting Coordination, blah, 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 is the debate's producer, selected by the Leaders Debate Commission to produce the Leaders Debate for the federal general election. They will distribute the signal free of charge to all interested media organizations. So that means that I can take CBC's feed and I could put it on my YouTube channel and stream it, right? That's what a lot of people are doing. You can take CPAC, their feed, and stream it. I like watching CPAC because it's a clean feed. They don't talk over it, so I do like that. So anybody can lift the feed, right? So it could be CTV News, BNN, APTN, Omni, Yahoo, C-SPAN, City News, whatever broadcaster. The CBC will produce the show, shoot the show, and we can then use the stream, which is great for us. But the CBC producer has to be in negotiations with the debate commissioner. And if the CBC producer says, we are not doing this, we are not having these questions, we are canceling the whole thing, that is how much they don't want Rebel News to go in, because they know they can't fight the court thing. Rebel News and Juno News, their beef is more with Rebel, but they are legally allowed to be there. So it's either everybody or nobody, and they chose to go with nobody. And the thing is, they're the public broadcaster, CBC. They purport to be there for you, and they are so chicken that they're like, cut it all, no press conference. And then more nastiness happened afterwards.
Oh, Terry Gillen! Hey! Terry Gillen!
What are you gonna? Bro, you guys are out. You touched me with that.
No,
I touch you. You're a liar. You're a goddamn liar.
You're a liar.
Oh yeah, nice try, guys. You just hit me. What are you doing?
Oh.
Police.
No, the police is backed by the liberal.
I'll show you how CTV portrayed this. This clip is a little bit longer, but it's worth watching.
All right, let's break down what exactly led up to this moment of Terry Gillen, lead media advance for Prime Minister Mark Carney, smacking David Menzies twice outside of the leaders' debate last night. Now, as many of you know, the post-debate media scrum was canceled, and a journalist from Ricochet Media started to yell and blame Rebel News for it being canceled. While I was filming this interaction, I noticed another cameraman filming me while all the action was happening behind him. So to test if he was actually filming me, I moved around, and unsurprisingly, his camera followed me. Fast forward to a few minutes later, and I tried to get a shot of his name tag to see who he worked for, and he elbowed me out of the way. As he was exiting the venue, my colleague Alexa Lavoie attempted to speak with him in French to see who he worked for because he wouldn't respond in English to me. David Menzies also followed us outside of the building, and as I was attempting to get a shot of his name tag on his bag, he smacked my phone out of my hand and stepped on it. And then out of nowhere, Terry Gillen steps into the picture, and as David Menzies is filming him, he did not like that the camera was in his face, and he smacked it out of David's hand. David retrieved his camera and attempted to ask him what that was all about, and he smacked it again. It's important to note that there was police all around while this was happening, and I was in disbelief that none of them were stepping in at this moment. It's also important to note that the cameraman who initiated the whole incident then went on to load up all of his camera equipment onto an official Liberal Party bus.
Yep.
Now, let's compare that
Here's
with
Lucasher.
CTV News's coverage of the interaction that occurred.
I think we have the tape for you right now because the Liberal bus was on René Lévesque Boulevard, which is just the street behind the camera here. So as they were going out, they were being followed by some of those, as I mentioned, I called them earlier, some of those so-called journalists from Rebel News. And as they were walking out towards security, they were being hounded by them, being filmed by them. And these are just journalists who are trying to get back to the hotel tonight as there are no more scrums. And at that moment, you'd seen this clash between one of the members of Rebel News, and it seems like somebody from the Liberal Party. It continued to spill out.
Oh, our friend Mike Licature. Mike Licature, you're going to have to go to other events where you're going to have to be in the same room with members of the alternative media. And for you to publicly say, to broadcast on CTV, members of the so-called, they call themselves so-called journalists, so-called, you've lost it. You have now become, you are officially a so-called journalist. You are a biased liberal supporter. And that camera guy went right onto the liberal bus. Mike Licature, I'm so disappointed in you. But there's this guy, his last name is Reed on CTV. He's a commentator, political commentator on CTV. I think it's Scott Reed. He went on this swearing tirade. But if CTV, you already made your dummy decisions of hiring and firing Rachel Gilmore. You're already saying these biased things and biased language. And you already have Scott Reed on as a political commentator. Vashi Capellos, if you put that Scott Reed on again after his horrible behavior in a video, shame on you.
Okay. Wait, are we going to do this now or are we going to revisit this thing?
Do it now.
Well, then let's fucking do it. Okay. Fuck these guys. Fuck these right-wing incel asswipes. Fuck them over and over and over again. This is a fucking election campaign, and they seized the weakness of Michelle Cormier and the commission.
The weakness? Why are they weak? And why are you so bitter? You've had your chance. You can spew your mouth off any night on the week on the Vashi show. I think that's Corey tonight. I don't know who these other two are, but your silence in this makes you complicit. Whoever these four people are, CTV should never have them on as panelists again. And if you ever see their faces, turn it off. Turn the channel.
To turn last night into a fucking clown show, right? First of all, they start goading people. Cormier and the commission, of course, allow.
Who did the goading? You better show me evidence of goading.
Ezra, an arsonist, into the room, and then they give him a nice bunch of fucking kindling and a match. And, they get into an argument with them. That allows them
Okay, you get the point. I can't listen to any more of this loser. Okay, I'm going to take this moment to show you actually how some of the reporters how they were asking questions. They were completely civil and completely professional. And anybody watching that has a brain in their head knows that. If you're an unhinged, I don't actually know what's wrong with these media people. Did you inject yourself with something and then lose your mind? It's like you injected yourself with some sort of loopy juice because you have gone absolutely cuckoo. Let's have a look at. Well, this is my friend Alex.
Absolutely, Alex Zoltan with True North. If you thought my friend's question was odd, you're going to love this one.
I'm glad you self-assessed that. Okay.
How many genders are there?
In terms of sex, there are 2. Thank you.
My follow-up question then, do you believe that women, biological women, have the right to their own spaces, their own sports, their own change rooms, their own prisons, their own homeless shelters?
I think this is Canada, and that as a general objective, yes. But we work in where we value all Canadians for who they are, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was a non-answer. I think he said the word more than he said anything else.
Okay. But the question was nice and concise. So good job on Alex. And it was unusual because we don't hear anybody asking about that after we've had that shoved down our children's faces for so long. Here's a little bit more of the video from what happened on the street with the police.
It's unbelievable.
They're just taking orders.
SPVM have the order to not do anything.
And who gave the order? Who gave the order? Did the election commission give you the order or the prime minister designate?
They're eyewitnesses. They're officers of the law.
Right, protecting the liberal bus. This is poetic, visual poetry.
Please don't touch her. Thank you.
This is the same problem you have in this city. Every weekend, when you allow people to chant for genocide, and you arrest independent media and peaceful protesters. Okay, let's talk on the sidewalk.
Very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right, so are we talking or not?
Please give us a moment, all right?
Okay.
All right. Take your time.
In the
Take your
meantime, you're
time.
allowing the suspect to escape. There's one already in the bus.
Right.
Are any of you guys going to do anything about that?
Oh my God. You should be ashamed of yourself, officers.
Unbelievable.
You stand.
Who gave the orders?
It's the liberal boss. What do you think?
You're very brave.
It's not funny, but it's funny.
Well,
Alex Zoltan here with True North. I am still right outside the CBC headquarters. I just went around the corner because I had to decompress. That was just an absolute shit show. What a crazy, crazy event. So the best way to describe what I think happened, maybe I can provide a little bit of a description of the setting. So the media center is essentially a big movie theater. And you watch the debate in this movie theater, and then the party leaders come into the room after the debate, and that's when the scrum occurs. We were all waiting for the leaders to arrive and for the scrum to occur, and that's when we were told that there would be no scrum. That's where individual journalists are able to ask the leaders who want to be the prime minister, they want to be in charge of the country, questions, sometimes remarkably uncomfortable questions, because our public officials should be beholden to answering questions from the public, even if they are uncomfortable. That did not occur. Why did it not occur? It's not exactly clear. So they told us that there was a safety concern. I don't actually buy that explanation whatsoever, because the debate itself is remote. So there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why we should not be allowed to ask them questions, even if it's remotely. They don't have to come into the room. I mean, if the atmosphere is so tense in the room, then just do it remotely. The best way to describe what I think happened is that yesterday, the independent media outworked and outclassed the CBC and the mainstream media. So instead of losing gracefully, they flipped the board. I also find it very hard to believe that this decision did not come from the top, which would be either the prime minister designate, Mark Carney, or the head of the CBC, or the executives of the CBC, I should say, who rely on Mark Carney and the Liberal Party for their salaries. So with that, signing off, Alex Zoltan, True North.
Yeah, I can't say it better than that. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And Rosemary Barton, people from the CTV, from look at her, CTV, you should all, well, I didn't see anything Global did, so I've crapped on them enough, but you should all be hanging your heads in absolute shame. You got caught, you got busted, you guys are cowards, and you know it, and we know it. Thank you for watching this video today. I felt it was really important. It just made me so mad as somebody who came from that industry. If you like this video, or if it made you mad, please click like, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That does help me. Turn on your post notifications so you don't miss an episode from me. I appreciate you spending time with me this Easter weekend. I'm going to go have dinner with my family in a little bit, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.